Hi, it's been a while. My name is Zach, and today I want to talk about the Backrooms, the movie. So, there's spoilers. In 2019, a picture was posted to The Bad Place. It makes a funny joke about the absurdity of blending reality with video game logic. Video games operate on programmed logic, flawed, designed by people with limitations and facades. A programmer isn't God. They might be the other guy, actually. They don't intend to make a simulation, but instead they're just doing their best to make something that you can play around in. When Mario drops a box and it lands on a perfect vertex intersection of two walls, only for the box to begin rapidly stuttering and then disappears out of bounds of the game's designed world, that's not meant to be a literal thing interpreted within the fiction of the game. That box isn't teleporting, and the Mario character isn't just blasé with objects randomly doing that. But if you apply the same reasoning to real life, it would suddenly become extraordinarily horrifying. You might accidentally bump into a wall and disappear, teleport into a place you're not supposed to be. And that's a unique thing, isn't it? Specifically, the blending of video game logic with reality. Importantly, I think, what makes it unique is that a video game is designed. The intent is important because part of the feeling you get from this image is the idea that you're not just somewhere you don't belong, but you're also somewhere that wasn't intended, not properly considered. This is a mistake to be here. It's outside a facade. Facade. Wait, what facade? If you are now outside a boundary, that implies your intended life was within something manufactured and planned. Maybe natural, but guided. There's an idea called liminal horror. I've spoken before in my best video I've ever made about liminality as the idea of unmet expectation. Liminality is the transition between two concrete understandings. It's similar to the unknown, but unlike the unknown, which is an extremely broad concept, liminality specifically has progression. That is to say, it is progressing. But it's frozen in time. You can be in the dark and have no information or direction. That's the unknown.
Onion right here. Look at that. Woo!
Liminality, conversely, has some establishment that directs you toward assumption, but then never fulfills the assumption. It's not subversion either, right? Because that would break your assumption. That gives you information. No. Instead, it leaves your assumption as is, vacant. This room is supposed to have things. It's an office, or it's a house, or a hotel, or something. It's a building. It's built. They should call them builts. There should be workers, or residents, or people somewhere doing something. There should be furniture here. There should be light switches. There should be wires. There should be dust. There should be curtains. There should be something that indicates usage. But by denying us anything at all, that assumed usage leaves you wanting, with the progression of an assumption and nothing else. Liminality. You expect these things, and yet nothing is there. Importantly, you would exit this liminality if something were offered that diverged from your assumption. If suddenly a hippo were in the image, you'd go, oh, that's silly, a hippo in a hotel building or something. Importantly, this image maintains liminality by lacking. And liminality is uncomfortable. Because your brain wants to continue gathering information until the scene is resolved, but can't, it's left unsatisfied. Because we've all stood in an empty hallway of a hotel or a building after it's closed, or late at night in a parking garage, we've all felt this isolating sensation of being somewhere no one belongs. It's unnatural, upsetting, and confusing. Now, these kinds of images existed before 2019, and these kinds of jokes about blending video game logic with reality to generate hilarity and horror have also existed, I think, for decades. This is ancient. But this image was the beginning of something very specific. The Backrooms became an internet phenomenon driven primarily by children. Fandom is a term for a particular subculture dedicated to focused fans for a particular thing. Fandom has connotations of mild derangement in the way middle schoolers can have slightly unhealthy but perfectly natural obsession with their parasocial targets. Swifties are members of a Taylor Swift fandom. Fandom is its own social network with its own in-jokes, and it often includes fanfiction where fans create their own stories or animations animations or comics or whatever, because the fandom is centralized around the celebrity or the work they enjoy, but also it is its own enjoyable community. Fandoms can develop and split. They can become their own microculture. They can do some interesting things. And the Backrooms existed in this way as a fandom. A lot of young people on the internet were fascinated by the idea of this liminal thing, and many people began producing independent video games and YouTube videos and books and whatever, stories set in the Backrooms. This community fed off itself. It grew and changed and shifted and adapted based on other works by other people, and it became a collaborative thing. Eventually, it got its own narrative. The place was inhabited by abstract entities, hostile monsters, people scattered throughout time and space. It became a cluttered mess. But then, Kane Parsons, a Californian, in 2022, created some very neat videos on YouTube, that were obviously better than the surrounding junk. His found footage style videos and graphic editing in the Blender software did excellently. He had a clear, strong grasp of what made the Backrooms so interesting and uncomfortable, and his approach covered the limitations of his amateur budgets. It looks good, and it was quickly acknowledged and adopted as one of the best archetypes of the setting in the fandom. Other people preferred the monstrous inhabitants, sure, but Parsons really seemed to grasp this setting on a more fundamental level. I won't watch all of his stuff. I've seen the shorter clips, and I don't really care that much to have them affect my interpretation of the movie. I saw a lot of online discourse, and man, it's just not for me. I'm just here to watch some movies and move on. This Kane Parsons guy gets picked up by A24, to make a movie. So we have to wonder, well, is this going to be a Hereditary situation or a Tusk situation? Now, before I continue, I need a moment of your time for a PSA. Ricky Slim has recently escaped from the bayou, and he's searching for me. I'm in the public registry because of a thing I did once, and so I need you to comment down below with your current location, which might distract Ricky Slim temporarily. While you're down there, touch the thumb or something, and just make sure you don't read anything while you're down there. Thank you. Let's get back to the movie. You can make this movie about anything. How are you supposed to capture the unique liminal horror over a multiple-hour runtime? Recall that liminality requires withholding answers. You must provide a setting that an audience can make assumptions about, and then deny that audience the ability to fulfill those assumptions. Deny them resolution, deny them continuation, deny them subversion. I think that's impossible. Or, if it's possible, it's surely going to be very difficult, perhaps extremely artsy, and certainly exhausting to the viewer. So, Parsons doesn't, and I really appreciate that. I think it was the right call. This movie is primarily about loneliness and belonging. It's about purpose and its lack, as well as longing for something more. Clark is an unsatisfied, frustrated man stuck in a bad job managing a furniture store. Throughout the movie, he repeats all the things that have gone wrong in his life and how they should have gone differently. To his therapist, he repeats conversations about his wife. To his employees, he shuts down any contact because it refreshes his frustration with his station. In moments alone, he loathes rivals. The only time we actually see him working, he's reviewing overdue bills. Clark is a man who doesn't exist now. He exists in the past. He's remembered. He leaves no impact today, but he should have, and that fact upsets him endlessly. He ponders this fact restlessly. Clark's story in this film is one where he accepts himself with all his flaws. And this is a bad thing, a sad thing. He can't be cured. He realizes that it's all his fault, and he can't accept responsibility. It should have been different. He repeats to himself again and again, but these recollections aren't progress, because you can't go back and change them. In the present, you can just move forward. But Clark enjoys the act of remembrance. He is satisfied by nostalgia, by recollection, by reliving. His memories, where he can try again and again in the same familiarity, are a comfort to him. He hates the present. He hates existence. The past is where he has control. Clark is a parallel to the Backrooms itself in this film. This movie interprets the Backrooms with a more tangible story. The Backrooms are a place of memory, where the world is repeated indefinitely forever. Each part of the space is a reflection, a memory of the world. Then, as it continues, a copy of itself, again and again, forever. Just like a memory, each copy loses detail and obfuscates meaning. Doors in real life have purpose. Someone made them, but their echoes in the Backrooms are often just wall fascia, or maybe they have too many knobs, or none of them work. They almost look right. They almost function, but they have no design. They're just mindlessly regenerated. In this parallelism, we don't just understand the Backrooms setting, but we also can reflect back onto Clark what we see. The Backrooms are a place of misunderstanding, of reproduction without understanding of purpose. And maybe, we wonder, this is why Clark understands it so well, finds his place of belonging here. It's not that this is a place that gets him. No, there's nothing to get. There's no mind. Both Clark and the Backrooms don't understand. It's rather that their interaction with the world is equally meaningless and surface. Clark's ideal world is one stripped of all understanding and detail, a place that eats memory, then retraces it forever. We can also be sure that this is a misalignment because Clark's comfort here is selfish. He readily mutilates the nearby copies of his wife and that one guy. He eats them and cuts them up. And when the monstrous copy of Clark enters the area, it is instantly violent. Note what causes the violence: Mary's exit, mirroring Clark's rage toward his wife, who left him. Monster Clark only arrives to attack once Mary tries to leave. Clark is someone who doesn't want to change, and who likes it here. The Backrooms' interpretation of Clark, the monster, is something that doesn't want its situation to change, and part of its setting is keeping Mary here. Let's move on to Mary. I think she's more interesting. Her mother struggled with delusions and maybe agoraphobia, and she became a therapist and writer who helps others with self-help guidance. Her mother trapped her in a house, windows taped with newspaper, until the building was demolished. Interestingly, she carries with her a piece of her past, a concrete chunk of her handprint from the driveway. She doesn't carry a reminder of her mother, but instead a reminder of her past, and we have to ask how different those things actually are. That house, her mother, that concrete chunk, are all the same connection to misremembered moments that make us. Mary smashes her past, literally bashing it against the monster's head. The monster bleeds, which is weird. I don't think they're supposed to do that, so this one's maybe a pretty fresh copy. And she escapes the warped creature's obsessed loneliness. She is the escape, and Clark is the trap. She also recognizes that she can't save Clark. Before he dies, she straight up tells him she can't do changing for him. He can't be fixed. Maybe it's for the best that he stay here while she leaves. She mirrors Clark's wife's journey. Wow, that's a lot of S's. Clark's wife's roommate's ex-boyfriend's former dog walker's journey. But this time, Clark understands and allows it. Only monstrous Clark can't. And I wonder if COVID contributed to these ideas at all. COVID was lonely, and though I was fine, I had a masked job, I had college friends, I had roommates. One of them became my wife. I know others were seriously affected by isolation, even though I was very fortunate. I also have to wonder the impact of AI on this, the idea of mindlessly reproducing something without understanding its purpose, slowly losing meaning. And what effect that can have on us. It can be isolating. It can trap us within. These are just neat things. They didn't connect with me. I don't really care at all about AI, and COVID didn't really mess with me too bad. But maybe they affected him. Kane Parsons. While the Backrooms as a setting, an internet phenomenon, a fandom, was originally engaging for its liminality, like I said, it can't be maintained indefinitely. Stories need structure. They are weakened when they meander, and they grow tired and weary when they reveal how empty they are. The Backrooms is a fun, exciting, and uncomfortable idea that draws you back for its feelings, but it never satisfies. That's critical to it. So this is a bad story setting to maintain. Much better, instead, is to comment on it, step outside, and then look into the Backrooms and tell us what you see and why you see it. The movie regularly pans the camera down vertically, sinking into deeper levels, not literal layers, I assume. Maybe though. And each lower level loses detail and remembers less. Each copy drops more meaning from the one before. And I personally found it to be a fantastic representation for how horrific the mind can be. Memory. Our memories are this. They are flawed copies of copies. And the movie repeatedly clarifies that the Backrooms act the same way memory does. And in this way, I felt delightfully unsettled by the film's observation that my memory distorts and weirdly isolates me. Memory is horrific, and yet it's so normal to trust it. People are very confident about what they remember, even though it's just a copy of a copy. You store no data, your brain is a bunch of wires that reorganize themselves sometimes. You're firing a new path every single time, and each recollection loses detail or solidifies new meaning absent from the initial event. For centuries, memory was all humans had to know things. I mean, we'd write stuff down, but that was flawed too. And now today we have recordings and video proof, and we can turn to them as hard evidence. I wonder if part of Kane Parsons' observation of this horrific nature of memory comes from the fact that he's young. We used to have video and that was pretty concrete. Now we have AI and stuff like that, which turns everything fake. Suddenly we live in a world devoid of meaning. This might have been a world that's kind of all he knows. A world where the mind is a horrific trap that loses detail. You can't trust anything. There is no objectivity anymore. Now, you can just look anything up. Every memory is offloaded. There's nothing to trust. Until, of course, things become personal. You need to remember a loved one's face. Memory is liminal, forever unmet expectation. So then, what are we left with? The Backrooms is a place forgotten that begs to be remembered. It is also, itself, the act of remembrance, memory that perpetuates, ever fading and ever struggling against its fading. And I have another word for this. Loneliness, isolation, longing. The act of turning inward forever, consuming yourself and your thoughts to accomplish nothing but degradation of meaning. Smoothing over each edge, driving further forever, to distill the purest form of a situation. A lonely person is forgotten, unaccounted for, and the Backrooms are a vacant place accounting for nothing despite mimicking purpose. I liked it. It was like a 6 out of 10. It's a fun movie. And it was very smart, I think, to depart from the pure liminal horror aspect to turn more into a psychological thriller. Thanks for watching. Consider subscribing or something. I'll see you later.